Can Nvidia stock beat the market even in 2022? Well, there are 3 questions we need to ask, and in this video we're gonna go through them. Hi, it's Marco here, and the first question we're gonna answer is, will Nvidia be able to increase their revenues even in 2022, maybe even in 2023? Well, the first thing we need to understand is that Nvidia hasn't grown their revenues based mostly, obviously in the latest period, on the chip shortage. And the first thing we are gonna look at is exactly that. When is the chip shortage gonna end? And here we are. So this is the article that I found, and it's very good. I'm gonna leave it in the description below if you want to have a look for yourself. But the summary is here. So it depends, basically. That's the straight answer to that. Is basically a bit nuanced, but bear with me. So this forecaster here, Gartner, says that a semiconductor shortage will extend from well into 2022, and it could be a year lead time for the wafer orders. And basically that means that in 2022 we'll still see this shortage. Another forecaster says we will extend into 2023, as you can see here, going through 2022 into 2023. Now, all these 2 predictions are hanging from one thing and one thing only. Here we are looking at more than 40 companies will increase capacity by more than 750,000 wafers, which is what is needed. Basically, this is what the shortage is about. These wafers, which are not biscuits, but apparently they are parts of a chip. So that's very important. Per month to the end of 2022. So this is it. By increasing these wafers, we are gonna see maybe less of a shortage going forward in 2022. But hey, this is not the only reason why Nvidia could be a very strong stock, because obviously there are other stocks, other semiconductor plays you can have, and so Nvidia needs to be able to beat them all, to be able to be better than the competition. And now we are gonna compare Nvidia to the competition, and we're gonna see who is actually competing with them. There is actually one company that is actually a bit of a dark horse, they call it, and not many people know that is actually competing with Nvidia. But first of all, remember that on this channel I'll talk about Nvidia and other stocks that have been performing very well over the years, and I've kept my subscribers on the right side of things, and we've made a lot of money together. But now let's compare Nvidia to their competition. Right, so the first one is Intel, Apple, and AMD are looking to take on Nvidia. So as you know, so we have Intel, Apple, and AMD. Apple is more of a business that not many people were expecting to find in this comparison, but as you can see, AMD does not have Nvidia's market share, but we're gonna look at how AMD stock is performing compared to Nvidia. That's very important. But basically, it's got the kind of capabilities that gamers are looking at similar prices. So we are gonna make more videos on that, because I think AMD could really pose a massive threat to Nvidia going forward. Now, different story is Intel. Now, Intel has got its own, obviously it's competing with Nvidia and AMD, but Intel is also a much bigger company, and not many people know how, let's say, not interesting is for investors. Basically, you know, we cannot just look at fundamentals for investing. We need to look at how popular a stock is, and Intel, I'm afraid, that is not very popular at all. It's a bit of an underdog, I must admit, and it could be one of those, let's say, one of those value plays, but for the moment it hasn't popped yet, and it's a much bigger company, so it would need way more revenues to turn higher profitability, because they basically have a high cost. And so basically here we see that the 3 challengers are, and we see them all, Intel, Apple, and AMD. But basically the bottom line is down here. Nvidia is still as formidable as they come. Despite staring down their contenders, Nvidia is still a powerhouse, in large part because of its software. So the software is what makes Nvidia an incredibly powerful competitor and leader in the microchip, in the chip industry. And as I promised you, Nvidia is not just obviously a company, it's also stock, and we are going to compare Nvda stock to Nvidia stock, the S&P 500. We are going to look at who's beating who, and that's very interesting, so stick around. Right, so here we have actually even Apple. I forgot to mention there is Apple as well. So that is starting from 2019. As you can see, the S&P 500 from 2019 went up 68%. That's incredible. Apple, on the other hand, 151%. That's whopping, but it's incredible. AMD 200%, which is very interesting because it's a bit of a round number, and Nvidia is basically beating them all, 316. If instead we just look at 2021, so this year that has just passed, Nvidia is still the stock that has beaten them all. So Nvidia 121%, 28, sorry, AMD 58%, Apple 37%, and the S&P 500 has trailed all these stocks. Which brings me to the second question that we need to answer to understand if Nvidia will be able to then beat the market in 2022. Well, is Nvidia able to produce more news, which in turn will increase obviously the stock price? So is it able to bring more innovation? That's what normally brings news to the table. And the answer is absolutely yes. And in fact, the next news is due to come out, and they don't normally tell us when. That's another interesting thing. News come out and just the market reacts very, very strongly when news drops. So it seems that the next gen of GPU architecture will drop for Nvidia in March 2022. That is incredible. And obviously in March we have another event we are going to talk about later in the video, which will obviously have a very strong impact on Nvidia. But first, remember that if you want to stay up to date with the news on Nvidia, this is the channel, so stick around. There is now another question that will affect not only Nvidia but the whole market. And so, as you know, if the market is on a bullish trend, obviously most stocks will be on a bullish trend as well. But if the stock market is on a downward spiral, well, obviously most stocks will go down as well. And so basically the third question we need to answer is the Fed gonna crash the market in 2022? And I've made so many videos about it, but let's dive into it. Now, there are things that are absolutely important for the Fed to not crash the market. The first thing is that we obviously have inflation that is rampant, and many people have got different basically understandings of that. They think that, for example, inflation will drop down in the middle of 2022. It is possible, maybe, who knows, but we need to look at, for example, short term. On the 12th of January, we are gonna see the next CPI data, and so we're gonna see what the market will react like when the data comes out, and if the inflation will be big. But obviously, this is just a data, and it just doesn't mean much. Who is actually gonna move the needle a lot in terms of where the market is going is the Fed. And if you've been subscribed, you know that the Fed is the most important factor for the market. So as you can see, the next Fed meeting is on the 25th, 26th of January. So mark these dates because I'm gonna make obviously a video update on it. And these are the dates that where we're gonna see an incredible market volatility, I'm expecting, with more news on the taper, which we talked about on this channel many times. And on top of that is obviously when we're gonna know about the interest rates increase that should happen in 2022, and we're gonna know what the future will be for the Nvidia stock and the whole stock market. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next Nvidia stock market video. Thank you.